You want right backs? We've got right backs. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Monday Deadline Day live reaction show. My name is Craig Fimbo. How are you all doing? And good to see you, Joe. My goodness me, people have been concerned. They've been messaging me about your well-being. They haven't seen you for what is almost 24 hours. You could have given us 3 rings or something like that. How have you been?
Is this with regards to the exit of Luke Woolfenden? Not confirmed yet, but no, I'm good. I'm pretty zen about all the transfer dealings today.
Sanguine about the
Very.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's going to be the case, if people are expecting Joe to go off effing and blinding, then you might be disappointed. And also, you'd never guess by looking at the screen, those of you who are watching on YouTube, one of us touched down last evening after spending the week in 40-degree heat in Turkey, and one of us did not. But I'll leave it to you to decide which genes are probably 100% Suffolk and which genes are 50% not Suffolk. Good evening to everyone that's in the chat. I'll pick a few up. Hi to Rob. Hi to Tom. Hi to other Rob. Hi to Philip. And hi to Tim, I saw at the very beginning, who's going to be listening to us after the event. But if you are with us this evening, then please do drop us a line, drop us a message in the chat. I will try my very, very best to get round to the comments. As you can expect, there may well be a fair few for one reason or another. What I thought I may do is if Santiago, Chile, Alex, good evening, good afternoon to you. Just a shame we couldn't maybe have tallied up some players from your neck of the woods.
Alex sent us some great info over about Marcelino Nunes last week. So
yes, he did.
Some really good stuff over on that. So thanks to Alex for that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Alex. What I shall try and do, just to let you guys know what we're going to do, we're going to go through what has predominantly been, as the club promised, a day of outs rather than ins. And what we'll probably do is go through each player in turn from back to front of those who are supposed to be leaving. We haven't had a lot of confirmations of those who are leaving as yet. They may well pop up during the course of the evening as Joe and I are chatting. So please do let us know if they do. But we'll work from back to front, basically. We'll go via Woolfenden through to Chaplin, through to Ogbene, through to Al-Hamadi. So if you've got any questions, what I thought we might do is, as we're chatting about these players and their respective parts of the pitch, maybe drop us a question in there and some comments, and I'll do my very, very best, I promise, to try and send them up on the screen. I say it's going to be pretty manic, so please bear with, and don't take any offence if I don't catch yours. And also, just a little warning, I may become a little bit mischievous and facetious and try and poke Joe a little bit, but it will all be for the benefit of the show. It may not be something that I particularly agree with, but, we may just get a little bit of fun. Right, where do we start, Joe? As I say, as the club suggested, and it was in the media, it was going to be a day of more outs than ins, and they've been true to their word. Although, I'm sure they would have squeezed another right fullback in if they could have done, at the expense of one of the attackers. But it's culminated in a summer of a clear out of a lot of our promotion-winning team, hasn't it?
Yeah, and you look at the 11 that went up. I know sort of Harry Clark, but by the end of the season, he'd been replaced by Tuanzebe. So Tuanzebe gone, Wolf going, Burgess gone, Morsey gone, Luongo gone, Broadhead gone, Chaplin going, Burns injured, probably would have been going had he not been injured. So, and Hurst there. So it is a real changing of the guards. And I know it's obviously pretty tough because these guys have been favourite players for everyone in a period which has been sort of unprecedented at the football club, especially for people probably a little bit younger than me, sort of those who are sort of age 30 and younger. So they're the first team that they've had have real success. So you sort of build your heroes like that. I had the sort of Burley era. You would have had the Sir Alf Ramsey era in your youth, Craig. From there, we just you take it for granted, but things have just moved so quickly. And I guess the only thing you have to look at is where a lot of these players have ended up. There's very few of them been going up the pyramid. They've mostly been going either to the same division but dropping down. I guess the only players since the double promotion that have gone up have been, or to a similar level club is, I guess, Sladkey to a parachute team at the time in Burnley, but to go in there to be second choice goalkeeper. Tuanzebe's gone up to the Premier League to Burnley, but to be not even in the match day squad. He played in the League Cup last week and wasn't even in the 20 at the weekend. And then Delap and Hutchinson have gone up to the Premier League. And other than that, it's just been deals to other sort of non-parachute championship clubs or further down the food chain.
Yeah, and I suppose it is, and it's by virtue of the way that the transfer window has panned out and the way that the deals have fallen, is that, as you said about the speed of the deals, it's just been today, it's sort of been a case of it's been one after the other. To some people, it's been one body blow after another. And whereas you might argue that the first 11 hasn't maybe been affected too much, although fully agree that Conor Chaplin started on Saturday, but it is potentially the 11 behind the 11 that may have had a bit of a knock and certainly changed anyway in that respect. Right, okay, let's go. As I said at the beginning, as far as we were at the time of talking rubbish, these deals haven't been confirmed, but we're pretty sure that they will be, because they have to be, because we've got a squad registration quota to fit. So we're working on the assumption that all these deals will be done, and that at some point in time there'll be a picture of these guys holding a flag, or standing in holding a scarf, or standing in the corner of a stadium waving a flag around on a drone shot. Luke, Woolfenden, Joe, do you know where I can get a 6'4" English ball-playing central defender in his prime, who's played 15 times in the Premier League, for around about, I don't know, you would get for less than 12 million quid, would you?
No, and it does seem a very cheap deal, doesn't it? I heard we've spoken about this one at length over the last few pods, because we knew there'd been a lot of talk around Ipswich, and obviously he's an Ipswich boy, so normally when you hear stuff about Luke Woolfenden around the town, it's more likely to be from people he knows, and that he wanted to get out of the club. I think sort of when O'Shea signed his deal, that was probably it for him. He knew he was not going to be playing, and he's a guy that played 40 odd games in League One to help get promoted, 40 games in the Championship to get promoted, 15 games in the Premier League last year. And I mentioned before, but a lot of those games, it was like Man City, Liverpool, then came back in for that spell of like Arsenal, Chelsea, played all the big teams. He was in there and didn't, I can't remember him letting us down in the Premier League. And I know there's some concerns maybe over his pace at the back sometimes. He isn't as quick as some of the other guys we have, but he reads the game better than anyone there. He's really good on the ball. He moves it forward. I think he spent most of that Championship season going up against really tough strikers and just winning his physical battles with their big number 9 week in, week out. And no one really got much change out of him in that league there. So, yeah, he's a really, really good player. And I guess the problem is they know we want it to leave. I was told no one's getting anywhere near what that we want for him. They're all talking like 3 million quid. This was last week. And now he's gone for 4 million quid, I guess. So that deal is just I wouldn't like to say it's a good deal for the club. I think we've been a guy with 2 years left who fills a homegrown slot, which are sort of very rare for us in the squad at the moment. And yes, it's not a great price for me, but I wish him well. I can see why he wanted to leave. I can see that he doesn't want to be just a reserve here, because he's been there, he's seen it, he's done it. He wants to be playing, and why wouldn't you? It's hard when you're 26 years old to think, okay, well, that's the best I've been. I'm now just going to sit on the bench for the next 2 seasons. No one wants that. And I think that's probably been the case for a lot of players. Nathan Broadhead, Conor Chaplin, Massimo Luongo, Cameron Burgess. All these players went or wanted to go because they wanted to start somewhere. So, yeah, it's not a brilliant fee for me. And it is what it is. I say, wish him the best and hope he does well, but not too well for Coventry. It was a really, really good move for him.
Yeah, it is. And to Philip's point here on the screen, Woolfenden wanted to leave months ago. What's the point of keeping a player who wants to leave? Well, I suppose the point is that it's your squad is becoming lessened by him leaving, especially because we didn't actually get a confirmed backup, I just suppose, because there was rumours, obviously, now forgive my pronunciation, Caceres. There was an offer, there was a conversation, there was dialogue between two clubs, but that deal fell through and we didn't revisit it. There was murmurings of McGuinness from Luton, who obviously we've had at the club a few years ago when he was at Arsenal on loan. That didn't materialise either.
He's just signed for Sheffield United as well now.
Yes, so that is signed permanently rather than loan. Okay, well, so it looks like we were trying to get a replacement in, but then maybe have thought that we've got enough behind the scenes in the club already. Have we with a combination? We haven't got a designated backup, but have we got enough? I'll use the term cobbled together from those that we have signed. Furlong, Baggett already being
Keep Ray is right-footed, isn't he? And he's can play on that right-hand side or the left-hand side. I think he's played more on the left, but he's right-footed, so you'd imagine he could play on both sides there. So he's the cover there. But yeah, it's a big drop-off from saying we're going to have a 21-capped Uruguayan centre-back to be his replacement to, oh no, we're going to make good with Elka Baggett as the fourth centre-back in the squad. So sort of keep Ray and Caceres as a backup centre-backs would be an unbelievable, where it's rather than having a sort of two guys of equal standing as your backups, you've now very much got a number 3 and a number 4. And Elkan Baggett, with the best will in the world, I don't think he's going to play a huge amount for us. I've always been impressed with him. I've always thought he's done well in pre-season, but another one that's probably had loan spells and not been able to show the durability needed in his loan spells.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he had a middling loan spell at Blackpool. He did well when he was available, but as you say, he wasn't always available for them. But he has recently signed a new contract for another 3 years. So at some point, you have got to back him, and if needs be, throw him in. But as you say, he is most definitely the fourth choice rather than there being a backup.
But sometimes these opportunities. Players get these opportunities and then they just explode into them. And you look at him; he's got all he's, I say, 6'5", left-footed, lovely left foot, really good in the air. And it's just like maybe it becomes a big opportunity for Elkan Baggett. And I think if it is, I'm sure everyone would sort of like to see another local lad doing well.
Yeah, localish. In terms of if there are any Coventry fans watching, what are they getting and what are we losing in terms of Luke Woolfenden's abilities on the ball? As you said earlier about him stepping up to the plate physicality-wise, that was probably something that was a criticism of him early doors, was just that physicality and the nuts and bolts of being a defender, really. But he added that to his game, didn't he, in the last few years?
Yeah, and he just always seems to want to just be 1 yard faster than the person he's marking. You could be running up against Kiefer Moore and be 1 yard faster than him, or running up against a real speedster and be 1 yard faster than him. He just seems to just want to be able to just do enough to get by without overly exerting himself. But I thought when he went to the Premier League in the games there, I thought he did well in those. There was no one really made him look silly there, which can happen to a lot of people at that level with the sort of quality of attackers you're up against. But yeah, no, Coventry fans have got every right to be excited for this one. It's a real good signing at a real good price for them.
To FXT Blues point here, saying that both Woolfy and Burgess knew the writing was on the wall. Really sad, as they were both excellent, and their replacement aren't any better in XT Blues perspective. I think we're probably banking on the fact that O'Shea and Greaves, albeit they're currently on the hook for 1 goal each at the moment in the last 3 or 4 games, are better longer-term players than the 2 that they've replaced, and are hopefully better placed to make the step up with us should it happen again come May.
Yeah, and ultimately, when Cameron Burgess left, there was talk of Girona and this, and he signs for Swansea, where if Jacob Greaves was to leave us, he'd be going upwards, not downwards. And same with Darrow O'Shea. Wolves were very close to signing him. Last season, I think Brentford wanted him, where if he was to be available on the open market, he'd be getting a Premier League club, where Luke Woolfenden's getting Coventry, who are one of the promotion contenders, but they're not a parachute team, are they? They're one of those ones, if they get promoted, is seen as a big achievement as opposed to an expected achievement.
Yeah. As you can probably expect in the chat, there's a variety of thoughts on the fee. Some people are saying that it's a good fee considering Woolfenden wanted to go, whereas Colin here is saying it's peanuts in his opinion. So, yeah, I suppose, but to Joe's point, you've got to weigh up an awful lot of factors, and unfortunately, if a club knows that a player wants to leave, and that club also knows that Ipswich Town need to get rid of certain players to achieve their quota of a 25-man squad, then it's only ever going to head the price in one way, and it's not going to be up, unfortunately. In terms of defence, then, I think that's probably, as things stand, the only departure that we are aware of. In terms of moving further up the pitch, as I said, a later one that popped up this afternoon, Joe, and there'd been murmurings that it was on the horizon, but given the team that came out and started the match on Saturday, it is probably the most surprising one of the day, shall we say. Conor Chaplin looks as if he's heading back to the South Coast and joining Portsmouth on loan until the end of the season. And at the end of the season, he is out of contract, Joe. So has, in effect, played his last game for Ipswich Town. Can you square this circle for me and probably some people in the comments? What is in it for us to loan out a player in the final year of their contract?
There's the only thing in there is that there is a recall in January, and we have used that before with George Edmondson, where we recalled him from Middlesbrough last year and made them buy him on a permanent to keep him for the second half of the season. And Brighton did that to us with Christian Walton when we were in our League One season as well. So maybe it's that we tried to. That was the only deal we could get done today. Again, we don't know if he wanted out as well. I'm not. Like I say, I think the problem is sometimes you say a player wants out as though they're kicking up a stink and doing this, but maybe it's fair to say, again, he's a guy that started week in, week out for us, a team that sort of came second in the Championship, played a good amount in the Premier League when he was fit, but he missed a lot of time with injury. Probably doesn't want to come in and be the third choice number 10 in the squad, and not a case of throwing his toys out the pram, but wanting to explore other opportunities. And as it got to the end of the window, this might have been the only opportunity he had to get out, that, or the best opportunity for the club. We don't know if there's a loan fee. We don't know how much of the wages are being paid. It's really difficult when it's a loan deal and you don't see that headline figure. It's one where it could be a really good deal, it could be a bad deal. We're never probably going to know, because he's played for us. We can't recall him and send him elsewhere in January. So it's us and Portsmouth, the only two teams he can play for this season. And yeah, it's a real. I know it's funny because I had the podcast with Rich on Saturday morning when we were talking about Valle Agele, and I said, "Don't be surprised if Conor Chaplin goes. I could really see it happening." And then, sort of 2 hours later, I get down to Portman Road, and then he's started in the team. So I sort of say on last night's pod, "Oh yeah, well I said yesterday Conor Chaplin was going to go, and then he was in the team, so I felt like a bit of an idiot." And now.
We can delete that show from the records, Joe.
Yeah, and now he has gone. So it's he's going, has gone, and it's a real shame because he's been such a great player for us, great ambassador for us as well. really good. You can tell he's a really good guy around the place. He's done work with sort of the Rainbow Tractors, the foundation, and I think he's on the foundation board, is he, or one of the?
Yeah, I think he was, wasn't he?
Him and Natasha Thomas were named on that. So
yeah,
been a great guy. I think he's got a young family. I think he's got sort of 2 babies while he's been here as well. His wife has had 2 babies since they've been here. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But ultimately, if his contract's up this year, we're not going to be offering him enough playing opportunity, and he wants to go. Then you probably help make it happen.
And you would hope that on the back of it, there's an agreement in place from his perspective, that there's agreement in place with Portsmouth that he will sign for them, and there's a 3-year deal on the table for him that will just carry on. Once his contract with us expires.
I guess you just wonder how quickly this has happened. Whether there's been even a chance to get that sort of thing in place, or whether it's just look, we just need to get this loan deal through, and then we can work out that afterwards.
Yeah. But I think this has been the one today. I say, because it, as you say there, Joe, as it's come out of the blue a little bit. This is the one that's probably garnered the most emotion, shall we say. Richard here saying it's been a dreadful day. Can't get over Chappers is going. Paul here saying that he's gutted that Chappers has gone. Daniel, gutted to see Chappers go. Not sure about that one. So that's sort of the thoughts has been, the majority of the thoughts that I've seen have been that way. Although, to my point at the beginning, albeit I'll take Saturday out of the equation, and to your point, Joe, about the first 11 being affected and the numbers that he's producing, they maybe not have been there. But my point would be, we've lost a number 10 that just links things up, doesn't he? We've got Smodic, we've got Akpom, but they're more second striker type number 10s that will hopefully spend a lot of their time around the central striker, whereas Chaplin did a lot of his work out wide. We've seen it dozens and dozens of times before, that he'll drop into right back and ping that ball down the wing to Burns, or he'll drop into midfield and pick a pass. We saw Smodic try and do that on Saturday with varying levels of success, shall we say. It's not his game. It's not Akpom's game. So as a team, we're going to lose that potential difference from a number 10, aren't we?
Yeah, and there is probably going to be a little reshuffle with how we play in. And you look at some of the options in midfield, like Cameron Humphreys is still here. Marcelino Nunes has played higher up for Norwich at times. So is it that you sort of have that third body in the midfield now? Because previously I'd say, well, no, you've got 10, 11 players to cover the front 4. Well, actually now we've got like 8 players to cover the front 4, and we've got 5 players to cover the middle 2. So now that balance has drifted slightly. So there is maybe more options to, if you want to play in sort of a Matasiwa, a Kajust and a Nunes in there, with Nunes pushed on as a link player rather than as a sort of a second striker 10, or even a sort of Conor Chaplin, like a box crashing 10, as he does at times. He drops in links, but he wants to get up in the box and score goals from there. So maybe there's just a slight change from there. But I'd say, but with Conor Chaplin, I think he's been like I say, great servant, great player. Like, it's a tough one to break the news to my children that he's going. They were sort of gutted on that one, and but I thought he played all right Saturday, but I think his previous cameos this season have been sort of pretty poor. I didn't think he's played well when he's come on. I know he's always trying to make things happen, but it's not always there for him. But I thought last year when he played in the Premier League, he was always quite good in the Premier League when he played there. But he's probably our third choice number 10 now. And if he's your third choice number 10, for him and for us, do you need to worry about it that much?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of points here to that extent, really. Paul here saying that Chaplin's best performances for Town are behind him. He's been great, but we have to move on, which is fair. And also Mike here saying that if Chaplin is so good, and to your point, Joe, about the general point about where people are finding themselves, which clubs people are finding themselves, that with all due respect to these clubs, they're not heading to clubs above us maybe above us in the league at the moment, but not above us in the pyramid in a more generic sense, shall we say.
Okay, just quickly here on this. TWTD have just tweeted, further to this, although Conor Chaplin's contract is up next summer, understand there is an option for a further season. Loan expected to be confirmed later this evening. So TWTD seems to think there is an option on that account, on his contract. So that changes things quite a lot, really, doesn't it? Because it gives us a lot more protection. So just forget everything we said for the last 10 minutes.
Yes. Well, as if you don't anyway. Yeah, well, no, it does, though, doesn't it, Joe? Because that was my point in regards to why would you send a player out on loan who's out of contract at the end of the season? That makes no real sense in doing it. But if you're doing that and he finds his feet, he likes it down there, they like him, then there's a conversation to be had in the summer that could suit all parties, isn't there? Just a quick one here from Alex saying that Chapper's getting a move to Pompey's like one of us signing for Town. Hope he scores a winner against the Saints, but he gets twice as much grief from Saints fans, doesn't he? Because he was obviously getting a fair bit a few weeks back. Okay, well, that's quite interesting, actually, about the change of circumstances there in regards to Conor Chaplin's contract, especially if it hadn't been picked up beforehand. It's quite interesting. Let me have a quick word from our sponsor. I'm just trying to think of a suitable time to sling the advert in, shall we say. So a quick one from Atwell's, and then we'll move a little bit further up the pitch.
Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for property and business law. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need legal guidance, our dedicated team has got you covered. Trust our award-winning customer service team to handle your legal matters with care and expertise. Find out more at atwells.com or visit us at our offices in Ipswich, Colchester, London, and our new location in Woodbridge.
Super stuff. Just a quick one here that I spotted as that was playing. Forgive me. Here, just one from Edward. We'll miss Chaplin for all the good memories he helped create, but I think being in the Premier League showed his lack of physicality, which, if we're going back up, is what we need more of. And that's been a conversation in the Telegram group, actually, earlier this evening. It was Martin, I believe, that was chatting about it, asking the question about whether, and it was a conversation of a topic of conversation during the day today, actually, on Telegram, is whether does it look like our squad physicality has been lifted in this window? We were in the Premier League, and it probably hit us a little bit harder than we expected. That the size and pace, predominantly pace, I think, of the Premier League. Have we improved that as a whole, do you think, Joe? Do you think that's been what we've had one eye on going into this window?
I think we have, yeah. I think you see the size a lot of times. They're all sort of in that 6 foot range. There's pace, and we have made the gamble on pace, haven't we? And when we're talking about the players that are leaving are dropping down to sort of lower clubs, that's because everyone wants that physicality now. So Conor Chaplin isn't going to get moved up the pyramid because he is not big, strong, quick on that side there. So I imagine that's probably why our players are dropping down and why the ones we're signing are coming up the other way.
Yeah. Point here from Tom saying that it's down to the Town media team to get us to fall in love with the new players. Well, I'd suggest, Tom, it's down to the players to get us to fall in love with the players. If they can get us promoted, then there'll probably be a fair bit of love flying around. It'd be quite interesting it'd be quite interesting, won't it, Joe, in regards to the permanent deal. What we think is going to be a permanent deal for Luke Woolfenden is the leaving bit of it, if you like. He's been here since he was probably 8 years old, whatever it is. Local boy. Caden Jackson had an hour-and-a-half interview on Portman Road in his chair. Obviously, we're not going to get that sort of thing, but it'll be quite interesting to see how the club and how Luke himself plays that, won't it? Yeah,
well, there's not many people that come through the academy and are in that from a very early age as well. Not a late one coming in. I think he was in at 9 with sort of like Andre Desel, Flynn Downs, Tristan Nydam, all down at that really early age that they came all through together and then went on to play 200 games for the club. It's a fantastic story for a local boy. And yeah, you'd hope he gets the sort of love and appreciation he deserves.
Yeah. Just thank you for the questions, people, that you're sticking in. Thank you to Rob specifically. I won't put it up just yet, Rob, because we'll come to that area of the pitch you're talking about. But thank you for sticking a queue at the front. I did forget to remind people to do it. And Philip, thank you for reminding me as well. Are you the only person to have liked tonight's podcast? I bloody well hope not, Philip. Yeah, if you could do, everyone, while we're chatting rubbish here about transfers, just click the like button. It will stop me getting told off by Rich. A done deal further up the pitch, a little bit wider than Conor Chaplin plays. Chio Ogbene, Joe, after 8 appearances for Ipswich Town, he has joined Sheffield United on loan until the end of the season with no recall in January, according to Phil at TWTD. 1 year into a 4-year contract. Obviously, he ruptured his Achilles away at Brentford in October time, I think it was, and has played 3 times this season, albeit looking a little bit rusty in all of those appearances. And Kieran McKenna suggested at the weekend he would be sent out on loan to get his minutes up, to focus on getting his body up to speed, play regularly, etc., etc. And obviously the signing of McAteer and Egerle have pushed Ogbene probably further down the instantly available ladder, shall we say. Are we going to see him play for Ipswich Town again, Joe?
Like I say, it's a difficult one because I think Ogbene, he does come across as such a sort of lovely, genuine bloke as well. And he's done so much stuff with the foundation while he's been injured. And I'm sure it's been a really difficult sort of mental journey while he's been injured. But I think it says a lot that we are electing to send him out to help get into the rhythm of playing games for a year. And we'd decided we'd rather do that than not register Wes Burns, who's probably out for 8 of the sort of 12, 15 weeks between now and Christmas.
If things go to plan.
Things go to plan. If he doesn't have any further setbacks, I think this might be one you need to read between the lines a little bit more on this transfer, because I'd say we all love Wes Burns. He's been a fantastic player for us, big game player, popped up with great moments at great times. And when you're talking about the sort of promotion heroes, there's no one who's a bigger part of that as Wes Burns is. He's very much front and centre of everything we've achieved, scoring the goals, sort of Exeter, the Huddersfield game, coming back from that injury and having a real big impact at the end of the season. But it feels like if you're Chio Ogbene or you're Ipswich Town and you're making the decision that Wes Burns at 30 in the last year of his contract is a better bet to register for this current registration period than Chio Ogbene, who's got 3 years left on his deal, who's younger and come back from an injury. I think that says a lot about where he's currently seen and what we expect him, what level we expect him to get back to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You say if you think Wes Burns is 8 weeks away from entering full training and then he's got to get up to speed, you would have thought that in those same 8 to 10 weeks that Ogbene would be more than up to speed. Well, as up to speed as he's going to get and ready, but the club still doesn't think that he's going to be of an adequate enough level to play. To Bits' point here. Good evening, Bits. Hope you are well. I believe it's your birthday recently. Happy birthday to you. Not every transfer is a success. Ogbene was one of those, and he won't be the last. Very sage advice there from Bits.
Yeah, Hamish makes the point that snapping your Achilles is one of the worst injuries you can get. And like, got huge sympathy with him for that, because it's a horrible, horrible injury that has happened to him. But it happened sort of a year ago now. And the fact we're sending him out after he's played a couple of games for us this season and makes your point that maybe we don't think he's going to get back up to that level, or he's not going to get back up to that level at a quick enough speed for us. And he played the first 2 games of the season, and then we went and spent 12 million quid on Casey McAteer. Yeah. So I think that's sort of sums up where we are with him, and it's a real shame, but it is what it is. But you'd think, like I say, he is fit and ready to play, and Wes Burns is not fit and ready to play. But we've elected to keep Wes Burns rather than Chio Ogbene.
That's right. Yeah, dangerous. But if you're an explosive sprinter, then, as I know from experience, what you do not want to happen is to snap your Achilles tendon, ideally. Mike's saying here that he was a strange buy in the first place. Well, I think Mike, to be fair to the club and to be fair to him, he was, in theory, Wes Burns Mark II, wasn't he, in the Premier League? That's what he was bought to do. But sod's law, he got injured very early in his career, and then 2 or 3 months later, Wes Burns got injured, so we didn't have Mark I or Mark II, and now we find ourselves back in the Championship, and without either, unfortunately.
And it was obviously it was limited action for Ogbene in the Premier League last year, but I thought Burns looked more at home in the Premier League than Ogbene did, even in the limited minutes that Ogbene did have for us.
Yeah, fair point. And to what Pete's saying here, if Burns comes back okay with his injury, he believes he's a better technical footballer than Ogbene and McAteer, actually far more direct and a better touch. But I think we'll wait and see. We've only had 8 games of Ogbene, and we've only had a couple of 1.5 of McAteer, so it remains to be seen. But what Burns
I think there's one thing we can say about Burns, though, is he has got the system better than anyone in this Kieran McKenna system. Sorry, I probably jumped over you about to say the same thing there, but he's got it better than anyone. And if Casey McAteer can get himself to the level of Wes Burns' understanding of the system, then he's probably going to go past him because he's 23. He's got that same physicality that Wes Burns has got, and you'd hope he's sort of will be better technically. Like when we signed Wes Burns, he played like 150, 200 games for Fleetwood in League One. He was like the fact he turned from that into what he's become is probably the biggest success story out of any of the guys there, because while some of them had dropped down to League One or in the Championship, they looked like they were sort of maybe either playing below their level or had gone from there, where Burns looked like I wouldn't say he looked like he'd found his level, but he was just a League One, League Two player, wasn't he? And had been there for some time. And then the fact he's come up and gone all the way through and had some games like Chelsea at home in the Premier League last year where he put an absolute masterclass for performance there. He's been great, and hopefully McAteer can learn that role and play it as well as Wes Burns did. And if he does, we'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, it's not a bad £70,000 spent, was it, at the end of the day? I think we found out it was. Okay, so that's Ogbene out the door. Another one who we think was almost confirmed, or certainly confirmed just before we came on air by certain accounts, Ali Al-Hamadi. Long-time admirers, Luton Town, have taken Ali on loan with an obligation to buy in the summer should they get promoted, we believe, for a total deal worth around £3 million. Another one who spent some time on loan last year. He was obviously at Stoke. Didn't set the world on fire, I don't think it's fair to say. But as we know, was very, very highly rated at Wimbledon. Was seen as a bit of a coup when we bought him for around about £1 million, wasn't it, Joe? But does he find himself, do you think, at his appropriate level at the top of League One?
Yeah, I think he could be a Championship player, because I think at times he's looked fine there, but he's just quite a frustrating player, because he always finds himself in good positions and makes good runs and lands on the ball in good places, but he's just a little bit up and down, maybe with his quality of touch finish on that side there. But no, he's definitely got a huge amount about him, and I think he'll do well there. He worked with Matt Bloomfield when he was at Wickham very briefly before he went to Wimbledon. So he's one that Matt Bloomfield's wanted for a long time. I hope it's one where we get a good sell on in there, because, these strikers, they can just explode, can't they? And go sort of to the moon. And I think Ali's got that potential to do that, but I don't think it's going to happen for him at Ipswich. I wouldn't say too much has happened, but he sort of became a little bit of he sort of went through the stage of being sort of a cult hero to then sort of becoming a bit of a joke figure to then becoming almost one that the fans felt sorry for. And I think that's where he's left the club. Like I say, I was at Bromley in the away end there, and it was when he sort of missed his penalty, it was almost like, no, there was no anger. It was almost just like, oh God, everyone just felt a bit sorry for him. And he stepped up like, oh no, he's not going to score this. And then he didn't. And and I think that's probably quite a telling final contribution in an Ipswich Town shirt for him.
Yeah.
And again, another one you sort of wish all the best to and hope he does well. And I think he will do well at Luton. I think they're a good side there. And if he can sort of go in and not just sort of rediscover his sort of confidence and ability back there and score a bucket load of goals for him and help them get promoted, it'll be a really good move for him.
Yeah, definitely. It's this is Streaky's point here is exactly what I was just about to say, Streaky. Your final comment, saying it's a shame, was between a rock and a hard place because of our rapid rise. He lost his instinctive play, and that was what I was going to suggest. Actually, is that when that was the excitement about him joining us. I thought was that you've signed this like street footballer in effect, a guy who's just doing everything off the cuff and wasn't thinking twice about what he was doing. It was all instinct. And then just whether he just found the rise of 2 levels as it was at the time too much, very possibly. But again, he's a guy that's come from the lower leagues, has played Premier League football. Couple of points here. £3 million for Ali. Pete suggesting here is a good deal for us. And here Hamish saying that that £3 million in the summers, whether they get promoted or not. Well, that's how it was initially reported, Hamish, I think. But there was another report just before we came on air that suggested it was linked to their promotion. But until such time as it's been confirmed and stuff, I don't think we'll know for sure. Yeah, Pete's saying our rise was just too quick for him. Another one that went out there are first team squad members, shall we say, that have left the building or are in the course of leaving the building should the faxes go through to the appropriate people today. A couple of youngsters that headed out on loan as well, Joe. Finn Barbrook, one of our brighter showings in pre-season, I think it's fair to say, has found himself a very, very decent loan move, it looks like here, to League One Lincoln. This does have a recall in January for what it's worth. 2 seasons ago, he was at Chelmsford, wasn't he, in National League South? Last year, he did very well at Sutton in the Conference or the National League, got their Players Player and their Young Player of the Year awards. So he's jumped a couple of divisions, now finds himself, I say, playing in League One, which is a great level for a team that will be fighting in and around the playoffs. So yeah, there's only upsides to this one, we think.
Yeah, and if you read I think it's in the EADT, the transfer deadline blog, you can tell that they've been briefed from the club about it, because it's sort of saying he's sort of like in italics, like very highly regarded by Kieran McKenna. He's done brilliantly in pre-season. His performance against Bromley impressed loads of clubs, and there's been a huge amount of interest in him from clubs in League Two and League One, and it almost looked like it became a case because of how well he's done that we were able to pick the best move for him for it. So yeah, he's come on really well. Had a really good. I thought he had a really good loan at Chelmsford actually, and it was really impressive in his first loan there, and got the move to Sutton. And I think Sutton had quite a disappointing season. They dropped down from League Two, had Steve Morrison in charge, and I think they were one of the favourites to bounce straight back, and it didn't happen to them. But he was like a rare sort of shining light for them in that. So it's sort of 2 spells of senior football, and then just a bit of luck being in the right place in the right time at pre-season here, because we needed an extra midfielder and we sort of needed it all through. So he's got the opportunity to showcase himself, and he's taken that opportunity with both hands, and now got a really good move in League One, and hopefully one where he can impress.
Yeah, definitely. And then another one we think's happened. Has it been confirmed? Tommy Taylor to Cheltenham. Again, just a great move to go and hopefully get some league football under his belt.
Yeah, I think Cheltenham are probably going to struggle this season in League Two. They've got Jacob Matsionis, who's sort of Lithuanian under-21 international, who's in our under-21. So he's there, and I think he's played nearly every game for them. He's doing well in that regard. And yeah, Tom Taylor's gone there. He loves a cut back and a goal, and scored that sort of I think he scored 15 goals to the under-21s last year, and he started the season where he left off, scoring a couple of goals already this season. Then that's at the higher level in Premier League too. I think he's got 2 or 3 and this season already, and they're that same sort of goals, just coming onto long ball, coming into sort of cutbacks, good finish. He can play as a 9, but generally he's more of a 10. Someone likes to get in there and score a few goals. And if he can, again, another one, if he can get a chance, hopefully he can help Cheltenham out and score a good few goals. But yeah, I think any one of our under-21s who gets a move into the league is doing quite well, because there's a lot of, when you look at these big mega academies like your Man Cities, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your Tottenhams, they have so many prospects, and they've got it's so much easier for them to find them places in the EFL for their players to go because they've got such clout with it as well. So when we do it, it's really, really good and a promising sign for us. When we've signed a guy for the under-21s today. It's not been, I don't think it's been formally announced yet, but it is done as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, Luca Fletcher. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to say that one till Wednesday, Joe?
I can have a quick chat. He was very highly regarded, sort of England under 16, under 17. Scored a lot of goals for him. I think Man City paid a decent fee to get him out of Reading, sort of a few $100,000, because when Reading were in trouble, they sort of poached him from their academy. But I don't think it went as well for him at Man City as he'd have liked. I think he had a good first year in there as an under 17, but then as an under 18, so his second year of scholarship, he didn't actually start a huge amount of games. Their under 18 team, so for their under 18s team, only sort of 6 or 7 starts, was generally a sub. And when you're doing that, you probably sort of, if you can't start games in your second year, you're probably on your way out. But it's no real shame not to at Man City, because each intake has got a dozen internationals coming in at each level. So it's not like a normal one where you expect to go up. The quality that they bring in from all across Europe, all across the world, makes it very, very difficult. So yeah, he's one that will come here and they sort of come into the under 21s. But he's of a level where there's real sort of hope that he will break through. But I wouldn't expect anything this season, at least.
No, well, he is a young one, isn't he? He's 18 years old. But as you say, predominantly going to go straight into that 21s, and in effect, I suppose you may be taking the place of Tommy Taylor, who's on his way out, albeit Tommy Taylor's playing in that more as a number 10, as you said. To Philip's point here, I was going to mention this, Philip, that City have not only do they have a buyback clause, they've got a sell-on clause as well. So they've covered all bases themselves there. But you would think it'd be along similar lines as the Mendel signing and the Boniface signing, that we are just currently that next level down in the strata of clubs for these age players.
Yeah, basically that, isn't it? And like Man City had a buyback for Liam Delap, they didn't exercise it. I think it's just standard; they put them in their deals.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So as far as we are aware, they were the predominantly outs and one in. From today's shenanigans. What we've got is an overview, again, caveating this that we're assuming that all these deals are going through. Rich has kindly put us together a overview of the squad as it stands at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that up and cover Joe's tanned face and my not so tanned face. And we're just going to have a little chat about the state of the squad. I say state, the balance of the squad as it stands at the moment. I think the one thing that probably stands out are the 4 right backs out of 22, 23 outfield players. Could be argued as being a little bit top heavy when you have one fit left back. But, as I said, people can play in different positions and will find themselves, hopefully won't find themselves having to play in different positions because everyone's going to stay fit for the whole season. Where do you want to start, Joe? Do you want to start at the back and work your way forward just to see where we're at as things stand now?
Yeah, I guess so. Yes, if you go through the positions, goalkeeper, we are sorted there. We've got 3 good senior goalkeepers there. Sort of Palmer will be number 1, Walter number 2, and then Button sort of as the senior reserve from that.
Just a question on that one, Joe. Sorry, just to interrupt. What was the need to register Button as a goalkeeper? Arguably to the detriment of the outfield squad. If Button isn't selected, if Henry Gray does that job, are we then allowing Conor Chaplin to remain?
I guess when you've signed him, you sort of have to register him. I don't see that you would just get away with not registering the third goalkeeper, because then what's the point of him being here almost? Because the third goalkeeper will travel to away games because they do the warm-up with 3 on the pitch. If a goalkeeper then pulls up sick or something in the warm-up, you then wouldn't be able to put him on the bench because he's not there. So you're either the third goalkeeper or you're not in reality, aren't you? And if we'd signed him to be the third keeper and then Henry Gray is actually the third keeper, the whole system falls down. I think there's a good argument you could make that you could have had Henry Gray as the third keeper as opposed to David Button, but we haven't elected to do that.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, so centre-backs we spoke about already. We've got Elkin Baggett in there as the fourth choice, which is different to how we've been over the last couple of years, where we've tended to have a sort of a main three. But I think it was the case in the last championship season where Axel Tuanzebe seemed to be the centre-back cover. It was Tuanzebe and Edmondson covering Woolfenden and Burgess, but then Tuanzebe ended up being the right back. So we ended up not having a fourth centre-back in all reality there. And then you look at the fullbacks, you've got obviously Conor Townsend out. He's not going to be registered. You've got 5 fullbacks now across there, which is one too many. Whichever way you slice it, it's one too many. I think you want 4 there. And I guess Ben Johnson has that versatility that he can cover the right wing, can probably come into central midfield. And then more importantly, both Ashley Young and Ben Johnson can play left back to cover Leif Davis. I know people were talking about how they'd rather have a left back in there to cover Davis, but were we going to be able to sign a left back who's better than Ashley Young or Ben Johnson is at playing left back for us? It's quite difficult to envisage that. And if you think in our last championship season, we had Janoy Donatian, Brandon Williams, Harry Clark, and Leif Davis were our full backs. I know Brandon Williams came through playing as left back for Man United, but he was right footed and played right back solely for us. So
if Conor Townsend doesn't get injured, Joe, do we sign Darnell Furlong?
I don't know on that. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think we signed Darnell. I think the problem we had was Axel Tuanzebe left, and we sort of ballsed up our right back position really, because he was just your solid one there. So we then signed Ashley. I still don't think McKenna really rates Ben Johnson as a right back in our system. It doesn't seem to really work for him there. So it's difficult because he's got that 4 or 3 years left of his contract, no doubt on big money because he was a Bosman free transfer, but he's not you don't really see him and think, oh, he's a good utility player. He can help out, he can play right back, can play left back, can play right wing, can probably drop into the centre midfield if needed, and bits like that. But it's difficult when a utility player is one of a very highly paid player, which I imagine Ben Johnson will be because of it is. But we are where we are with that. There's going to be overpaid squad players at every club in the land. Not every transfer works out, and it's just is what it is on that one. So we take it there. But I think at fullback we're well set. I just think we've probably got one too many there. But I don't think you could have trusted Harry Clark because he's just not been able to put enough sort of time off the sidelines together. He's just been injured so much, hasn't he? Since
to Trevor's point,
injured, wasn't he?
To Trevor's point here, he wonders whether Harry Clark would have moved on if he wasn't out injured.
Yeah, potentially. I guess we'll never know on that one, but it's a difficult one for him, isn't it? But I think we're relatively well balanced here. We've probably just got one too many right backs, which we're all aware of. And then you sort of move into the central midfield there, and it's Kajust, Humphreys, Taylor, Nunez, and Matasiwa. And I think the obvious thing, as Rob's question there, that jumps out is if anything happens to Matasiwa, who plays there. I think we spoke about it before on the sort of Nunez pods, but Nunez did sort of play more as a 6 when he played with Gabby Sarra at Norwich, who was playing as the 8. So he is that versatile that can. He's not going to be as solid defensively as Matasiwa, but he is someone who can drop in and pass from the back there. He's a ball player from that deep role. So I'd imagine he's the guy that goes there. But I think we've got 3 sort of very good championship midfielders there, Matasiwa, Nunez and Kajust. And I think Matasiwa's got better every single game so far this season.
Yes,
I thought he was excellent at the weekend, and I think he will continue to do so. He's looking a really, really shrewd bit of business as a signing there. I think Jack Taylor's had a good start to the season as well so far. And Jens Kujust looked sort of at home straight away in there, and Nunez. And then you got Cameron Humphreys, who can help cover that left back role. When we played in the championship last time, I think he even started the game at left back there, I remember, over the Christmas period. And he can probably cover in the 10 role as well. He played a lot there for Wickham last season in those roles behind the strikers. And then if you go forward from there, I think this is where it's a little bit different to how it's been in previous years, where we've tried to have sort of 10, 11 across that front 4 positions. It's just 2 per position now. You've got Jack Clark and Jaden Philogene on the left. Well, we know Sam Smolletts can play out there as well, but you're not going to get better than that in this division. You've then got Casey McAteer and Sindre Vala Agele on the right. Well, that could be an incredibly exciting pair out there, especially Agele. Maybe he sort of can play elsewhere in the 10 and the 9. But yeah, he's someone that we've all got really, really high hopes for there. And then Wes Burns still to come back from injury. The 10 role is, we spoke about it earlier, but it's very different now, isn't it? Chuba Akpom and Sam Smodics. Well, they are second strikers. And I think someone mentioned like where you're going to replace the goals from. Well, I think it was Oscar that put in a telegram earlier, like we platformed Conor Chaplin to be the best he can be, and he scored 13 goals in the, there's a comment there. He scored 13 goals in the Championship. Well, when Blackburn built their team around Sam Smodics, he got 29 goals. And when Middlesbrough built their team around Chuba Akpom, he got, I think, even more than that, 29 or 30 goals as well. So they're guys who, when they've been platformed, have done more than anyone else in our squad has done at this level before. And then strikers, I think this is probably the riskiest part of the squad. You've got George Hurst and Ivan Azon. We haven't seen a huge amount of Azon, but he looked lively when he came on, and someone we've chased for a long time. And I think he's going to be a very, very good player for us. And George Hurst had a poor game at the weekend, but we know he's a very good striker. But it's just, if something happens to them, you're really making do from that point onwards. And I think that's probably the area in the squad where, if you've got to play Chuba Akpom or Sam Smodics there, or Vala Agele there, you really are up against something with how we want to play. So that's the real worry for me, just going in there with two. Like George Hurst, he's looking pretty robust at the moment, but he is somebody who has suffered injuries each season he's been here. Some of them have been sort of overplaying injuries or impact injuries. So I wouldn't like to say he's injury prone, but Azon has never played outside the Spanish second tier. It's a big move to come in here and be fit and ready every week to go from. So I do feel like we're one short in that role there. And when you look at the whole squad as it is like that, I think if you could obviously if you could upgrade Elkin Baggett to Luke Woolfenden or someone of that quality at the back, but if you could take out a right back and change that for a number 9, I think we'd have the balance exactly right for what we need.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments here about excuse me, about the number 9 shirt, let's call it. Let me just say here, Daniel, for example, saying we could have done with another striker. That's at the end of the transfer window, that's my one real area of concern, and it very much mirrors what Joe's just said about the two that are there. Got nothing against the two that are there currently, but they are unknown. Now, when we went up last time, we had Hurst, Al-Hamadi, and Kiefer Moore, didn't we? We were a lot more robust. We had a guy who knew the Championship.
But then you say that, but then Hurst was injured from
he was
Boxing Day until the penultimate game of the season, wasn't he? So we had sort of Hurst and Ladapo for the first half of the season, and then Moore and Ali for the second half of the season. But then we had Caden Jackson there as well. I know he's not everyone's idea of a striker, but you knew if you put him there, he would play the role as Kieran McKenna wanted him to do so. It might not be to the quality that everyone wanted, but you know he'd do all the running, do all the hard yards that are needed in that role. It's just, would Akpom be able to do that in that role?
Yeah, that's what Philip's saying here, stick Akpom up front, and it is, hopefully we don't get to it, but to Simon's point here, he's saying we needed an upgrade on Hurst. To your point, Joe, and about Ivan, and it's something that I've mentioned on Telegram a few times, is that the level he's played at and the level he's coming to now, it's completely alien to him, and to expect him to come in and potentially have to lead the line, I think is probably a little bit too much too soon. But as you said previously about Elkin Baggett, he may come in and find that he flies. So you have to trust the club to say that they've done their due diligence and they've said that they'll be following for a little while. I would just query that we had a deal done and dusted 2 weeks ago, and then decided that we weren't going to go through with it, and then 2 weeks later decided to resurrect it. There's got to be a reason why we suddenly decided to resurrect a deal for a guy who'd previously failed a medical. So the robustness of our strikers is something that's of a concern to me, at least. Okay, cool. Well, we've been through the team as it stands at the moment. As I say, we're working on the assumption that all those deals that have been announced or rumoured during the course of the day have gone ahead. we're going to tidy up now. We've almost hit our hour mark. Let me just go through some plugs for you guys. We've got a promo on at the moment, a shirt giveaway, as we tend to do every now and again when we reach our milestones. We're almost at 6,000 YouTube subscribers. So you've got until the 12th of September, the evening of the 12th of September. Should we reach that 6K landmark, we will be giving someone a shirt. I think you have to retweet, follow, etc., like, as it says at the bottom there, T's and C's apply, DM us for more details. But I think pretty much if you find the social media post and retweet it and like it, it will say on there what to do, the score. So yeah, as Ben said, at the flagship, it'd be nice to give that away to a youngster or a family or something along those lines. But even if you're an old codger like Joe, you can enter. Sorry, what's that, Joe? What are you flashing?
Ali Al-Hamadi confirmed at Luton, and the club website says Ali Al-Hamadi has joined Luton Town on a season-long loan. The forward has featured twice for Town this term and will be looking for regular game time in the League One side for the remainder of 2025-26. The deal includes an obligation to purchase if certain criteria is met. Ali, 23, has made a total of 29 appearances for the Blues, scoring 5 goals. Everyone at the club wishes him the best during his time at Kenilworth Road. So between the lines, it reads as though it's the certain criteria's promotion if you tie that up with a tweet by the Iraq Pro Players account. But yeah, Ali to Luton confirmed. So we're now still waiting on Luke Woolfenden and Conor Chaplin. And if neither of those go through, then I'd love to see what happens with the registered players.
Yeah, Rich will be rejigging his registered players. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Rich. Speak of the devil. Yes, there you go. There's Ali Al-Hamadi pointing at a screen. In terms of further plugs, Adi, thank you for joining us as a YouTube member. You can join Adi and many others joining the top tier offering from Blue Monday. Somewhere here on your YouTube screen, there'll be a button to join us. There's bits and pieces all the time. There's shows, extra couple of shows at least, sometimes an extra rewind show, lots of blogs. We've got tactical analysis, just increasing what you already get for free via Blue Monday. So, if you want to come and have a look at that, please do, and follow Adi's lead there. Telegram, I've mentioned it a couple of times, was in its absolute pomp today. Lots and lots of people have joined us on that, and lots of people were having their say about what was going on. Hopefully any of you guys who are listening or watching at the moment, who are with us on Telegram can back us up on that. Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk for all that information. In terms of shows, the aforementioned top tier, there's going to be, I think Rich has bumped the
Beyond the Score
analytics. Yeah, behind the scoreline analytics show from today to tomorrow, just to space things out a little bit. So that's going to be tomorrow on top tier. Wednesday evening, Joe and I will be back. So if you don't hear from Joe tomorrow, do not worry. He'll be fine, but we'll get him back in on Wednesday, and we'll go through the news. Maybe we'll just do a bit more roundup. I've got some questions that people have fired in. Martin, I've seen yours. Brandon, I've seen yours. Neil, I've seen yours. What we'll do is we'll save those for Wednesday, if you wouldn't mind, because we're running over here. But we'll do a news show. We'll do more of a roundup about what's going on. Maybe we'll get some more feedback on the deals that get finalised over the course of this evening on Wednesday. Thursday, there's a pre-match. Rich is going to do a pre-match of the ITFC Women's season opener at the weekend. And then, if nothing else, there'll be a flagship on Sunday. Ben, Dave and Joe are back for the flagship, where we'll probably just take a breath, I'd imagine, Joe, won't you?
Yeah, just sort of see where we are. I guess the state of the nation it will be then, won't it?
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you, Streaky. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Colin. As ever, thank you, Lee. We will see, as I said, we'll see you on Wednesday for a live news show if you fancy it. And then we'll cry into our scarves when we see Luke Woolfenden holding up the commentary one. We'll see you then. Cheers.